Waiswa, the graduation yange yawedde yali last week kati ompise kugira kuki. Byakusoma people power. Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
NUP. Mr. President Luzungu balwogedde olungi kakati anjogeremu ku Luganda. Nimwe mutegera Luganda mmwe. Bwana amwogera Luzungu lwokka. For the benefit of the foot soldiers, let me begin with English because they understand English very well. Kati mwabali eyo afterwards mujja genda mu bano bavunulire. So as I was saying, Mr. President, colleague leaders, our graduates, I'm told you came with some of your parents. We do appreciate you and everybody else. I want to congratulate all of you who have been to school for the couple of months. Thank you for taking off time to study, to add value to yourselves and to this struggle that we are doing. You see, education is in various forms and shapes. Sure, Dr. Spire will tell us, hopefully. You know, there's the education you attain when you go through a formal structure. You go to a university like at Makerere where Dr. Spire teaches, and you study a diploma, a degree, a master's, PhD, and you get a transcript. There's education that you attain through short courses like the ones you have attained through our NUP School of Leadership. There's education that we get through this school called the World and Life. And that's the lifelong education that we attain. And hopefully, we get to learn and become better citizens and all of that. But I want to congratulate you. Thank you for taking off time to better yourselves. You see, for me, as far as I am concerned, we are ready and we have got what it takes to run government. At all levels. At all levels. Because you see, sometimes people think, you know, it is okay when the top is good. Our president is a lawyer. We have several educated people, Harvard and so on. It's a graduation in Muzidaba. That's a good thing. But we don't want it to be just at the top, at all levels, because you see, we need leaders at all levels in this our country. And so from what I see, we are ready to run government. People who had any doubts, are these people ready? Do they have what it takes? We are here and we are ready. People came from the bush, they didn't know what, they had not even a single qualification, but for us we have said, let's get ready. So it's one thing to remove this regime, which we are going to do very soon. It's another thing for us to successfully run government, and this shows that we are ready to run government, to change this country, to better the trajectory of our country. And that's what we are doing. Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. That is true. And maybe that's why this government has refused to focus on education, because uneducated people are very easy to rule over. They're very easy to manipulate. We have always made the case, UPE, Universal Primary Education, which is supposed to be a good program. Capitation grant that is given money to run the schools to cater for the educational needs of each child is 20,000 shillings. Not per week. Not per month, not per term, per year. Just think about that. 20,000 shillings allocated to each child as capitation grant in the UPE schools per year for the whole year. And somehow that child is supposed to compete with schools, private schools, the good ones and so on, to compete with the rest of the world. Not just locally here. It cannot happen. And that's why we remain wrong, we remain in a vicious cycle. As in our practices, we have always said, let's increase this capitation grant. If we are serious about educating this young generation to to become the kind of leaders we want them to be. Let's push it up. In fact, for us, we have said at the bare minimum, let's multiply it by 5 at the bare minimum for a start. So it is still at 20,000 shillings. That's why we have said severally, pay all teachers very well, not some teachers. Because the government decided, let's pay just the science teachers well. How about the arts teachers? The arts are important too. Because they're all teachers, they've qualified similarly, they teach the same man hours or woman hours. Let's pay all teachers well. Because when you don't do that, these teachers, they become lethargic. You can force them to go to class, as was the case, because Mr. Museveni called them to the State House, intimidated them and said, go back to class quickly. And the poor teachers have gone back to class. But they're not teaching as they should be teaching. They're not passing on the knowledge they should be passing on. Because they're not motivated. So they leave class, yes, they will hold the chalk, but they will not pass on the right content to these children. So all of those things affect education. And so this government is deliberate about frustrating education. Because when people remain there in that state, research has told us that children who are in P7 in UPE schools, they cannot do P2 work. That's the research that was conducted by an entity called WEZO. Children who are in P7 UPE schools, they cannot do work of P2. But they are in P7. Then they'll go to secondary and so on. So they remain shallow. That's what we want to change. That's what our government is going to change. Very deliberately. So that we become a better country. So that people who are educated can challenge leaders. When you're educated, you've been seeing Mr. Museveni moving around. Those poor people, at whatever age, elderly, they will kneel down and he gives them an envelope, which has, I don't know, maybe 50,000 or that kind of thing, whatever amount. But somebody who is educated, somebody who knows the value of them being a citizen, will be challenging the leader and saying, no, before you give us those envelopes, where are the roads you promised us? Where is the good healthcare? Where is the good education, infrastructure, service delivery, and so on and so forth? So that's what we want to do. And we have begun it here. So we congratulate you once again. Kale just kandogere ku lw'abana abali eri abazadde bamanyi oluzungu ngamba abali abali wali bannamawulire twagala okuyozaayoza abasomi banne mwebale kusoma yogeyoge kusoma kikulu nnyo era nabamu abantu bangi nabala akulembeza abamu bava mu Nakawa West mwebale kusoma mwemirire kale pulezidenti alabe nti abenakawa tusoma obalabye pulezidenti obalabye abo bakansala abafaawo basomye mwebale butatuswaza ekyokusoma ekyokuyiga kikulu nnyo ate okuyiga tulina kimanya nti okuyiga waliwo okuyiga okubeera mu kiraasi university nakino okola degree masters phd n'ebirala ne waliwo n'okuyiga nti ogenda kubangulwa eno koosi gye musomye oyinza obutagiteeka ku CV yo nekuweesa omulimu naye kubangudde tekulese kyekimu bayireweno ne ku CV muziteekeko tomanye ojja kutuuka mu ofiisi omuntu ategeere nti ntambuza emirimu gyaffe nga NUP bwanalabako kakoosi ajagamba ono gwenjagala ono abimanyi tubayozaayoza mwebale kuwaayo kaseera bwobeera omukulembeze okusigala ng'otambulira mu kumanya kubanga okumanya tekukuma otuuka ekiseera n'ogamba nti kaakati nze nkikubye nnyo awo bwotandisa okwonooneka tulina tambulira mu kumanya mu kwongerako mu kwongera okutegeera ensi nga bw'etambula. Nelson Mandela yagamba nti education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Kisobola okukozesebwa okukyusa ensi ate nga kituufu kubanga abantu babanga basomyeko nga bayigirivu bibeera byanjawulo eggwanga eryo libeera lyanjawulo nnyo n'engeri gye balondamu n'engeri gye basalawo engeri gye bateeka abakulembeze ku nninga ebeera yanjawulo kyovudde olaba oba oliawo gavumenti eno eryenjigiriza tebiteekako nnyo ssira Tubere mubalabe nga tubiyombako. UPE Universal Primary Education. Kibaita capitation grant zino sente zigenda kuyisa omwana ono musomere ebyenjigiriza byanaki. Buli mwana bamusasulira emitwalo 2 omwaka gwonna. Si wiiki, si mwezi, si taamu, omwaka gwonna. Kakati gwe teebereza emitwalo 2 omwaka omulamba. Oyo omwana gwe basuubira nti ajja kutuula ebibuuzo bye bimu n'abagenda mu masomero agali wano e Kampala. Oyo mwana gwe basuubira nti ajja kusobola okompiitinga n'abaana bali mu nsi endala zonna, mu nsi yonna. Tekisoboka, kyobulula tusigale mabega. Ne tugamba nti abasomesa bonna basasulwe bulungi. Gavumenti yo yagamba nti ate tujasasulamu abasayansi bokka, ate abalala aba arts bo si basomesa, bo tebasomesa saawa ezimu, tebatula mu classroom y'emu. Of course kyeyakola Mwami Museveni n'abakangakanga abo mutagende mu class tujja bagoba bambi abasomesa ne batya aba arts ne baddayo okwekalakasa ne bakuyimiriza ne baddayo okusomesa. Naye ebyaddala wogoberera abasomesa bali mu kibiina naye tebasomesa nga bwe kirina kubeera, kubanga tebali motivated, tebajja kuwaayo buli kimu ekibalimu okusomesa abaana bano obulungi, kubanga si basanyufu. Kati bajja kusomesako bya mpola mpola, kati golowooza nti bali mu kibiina basomesa naye nga ate tebasomesa. Kati ovudola baffe tugamba ebintu ebyo tulina obikyusa, gavumenti yaffe egenda bikyusa, tuteeke essira ku byenjigiriza, kubanga abantu abasomyeko abayigirivu tebajja kulanga bino omuze mulamu Museveni yalambula n'agenda kulambula alina obubizi, abalina obukoko 3, bambi abantu abaavu najja n'afukamira n'amuwa ebbaasa erimu ba mitwalo 5 oba mmeka. Kati omuntu asomyeko abagamba nedda saagala bbaasa yo, njagala luguudo, njagala mu ddwaliro, twagala mirimu ng'abavubuka. Kati kyoddola abantu beezaawo ffe kye twagala kikyuke, ng'abantu bamanye ekyokukola, bamanye ekyokubanja abakulembeze baabwe, si just bbaasa wetwagala okusomoka. Era Pulezidenti njagala kugumya nga tumaze okutwala obukulembeze, ate ekyo nga tekiriiwala nnyo. Tulina obumalirivu, tulina obusobozi obuddukanya gavumenti, kubanga tekikomenda ku bakulembeze nti buli gano bafuna zi masters ne tuzifuna aba Harvard naki. Twagala kiremeko ku bakulembeze ab'oku ntikko. Ffenna tubenga tumanye ekyokukola. Wa President ali mu State House si abeera akulembera yekka, abeera n'abakulembeze ab'enjawulo. Kati kino kitulaga nti ffe tuli ready okuddukanya gavumenti. Twagala okusobooza abalala, namwe mujje musome tulabe nga ebbanga ligya maaso. Congratulations again.
Kama wange mwongere engalo ez'amaanyi. Naffe aba media tuli basanyufu nti mu ssomero Jonas Sseruwe bali kusoma, yimirira abantu bakula